Rest in peace, and may Allah grant Yahya Sinwar the highest rank in Jannah, inshallah. That was the most inspiring story that I've heard, I think, in my whole life, seeing what happened to Yahya Sinwar. It's very ironic that the Zionists thought that they could use that video, that drone footage, to make it look like they won, when in fact it just inspired so many people. It showed their arrogance to show a true hero like that, fighting on the front lines until the last breath, with a wire wrapped around his arm, throwing something at the drone coming after him. Look how visually representative that is of the situation. Tanks, drones, snipers, all against one man and his spirit, a man and his stick. They need all that to take out one 63-year-old man, born in a refugee camp, 25 years in prison being tortured, and still they could not break his spirit until the last final breath. That's what shows the power of a man who doesn't fear death. That inspired me so much. Rest in peace, and may Allah grant Yahya Sinwar the highest rank in Jannah.
What this shows is, like the Palestinian people, Hamas and their leaders put their lives on the line to liberate themselves from an unjust settler colony experiment. Sinwar engaged an Israeli brigade directly with a handful of fighters. When resisting, he ran into the building and got up to the second floor. They shot a tank shell at him. He lost his arm, and still when the occupation tried to raid the building, with one hand threw grenades down at them, injuring several members of the occupation. After sending a drone in to see if he was still alive, he used his last breaths to throw a stick at that drone in defiance of the occupation. It shows a character that is the total opposite of a man who hides in a bunker at the first sign of a rocket. Sinwar famously said, "A minute living with dignity and pride is better than thousands of years under the boots of occupation." Sinwar's life might have ended, but his legacy has only just begun. The Israeli occupation has successfully immortalized him. This is a man who died fighting on the front lines, resisting an occupation of him and his people till the very end.
Hello people, this is Socrates Son. In this video, I will reveal the truth about Yahya Sinwar. Was he a hero or an evil terrorist? Sinwar died in a heroic manner in defiance of the Israeli occupation until the end. His death is iconic and has inspirational quality for the like-minded. The most famous picture of Sinwar's life was a symbolic photo where he was sitting on a couch among ruins in defiance of Israeli military might. And as it was fate, also his last moments, his last photo, was again sitting in a couch in defiance of the Israelis. So this image has huge iconic or symbolic quality. Sinwar was certainly brave. Okay, and bravery is it's a very important virtue. In fact, bravery is one of the four cardinal virtues of ancient Greece or of Greek philosophers. But as you will see in this video, Sinwar lacked the other three. In fact, courage and bravery was the only virtue he possessed.
Four Cardinal Virtues in ancient Greece. According to the ancient Greeks, virtue was beyond morality and tied to the concept of functionality. The virtue of something enables it to perform its proper function excellently. In the ancient Greek concept of virtue, a virtuous person is living excellently, meaning they live a full, productive, happy human life. Courage. Also known as fortitude, courage is the ability to face uncomfortable emotions such as fear, intimidation, danger, difficulty, and uncertainty. Someone who is courageous is not absent of fear, but someone who willingly faces it. According to Aristotle, excessive timidity and excessive boldness are not courageous, and true courage is found between these two extremes. In ancient Greece, courage was considered a military virtue. Ancient Greek philosophers such as Aristotle and Plato held the military in high esteem. Being a soldier was virtuous in ancient Greece and the model of a courageous hero. Temperance. Better known as moderation, temperance is the virtue about exercising self-control and self-restraint. Temperance means avoiding self-indulgence and thinking of human life in terms of a greater human good. In ancient Greek society, temperance was associated with sobriety and abstinence. According to Plato, self-restraint was an indispensable virtue. Aristotle also valued the importance of temperance. He said people were sometimes irrational and had irrational desires, such as hunger, thirst, love, and anger, which could compromise people's judgments. Aristotle believed these irrational desires had to be controlled to serve the human good.
Yahya Sinwar lacked completely temperance. He engaged in extremism, not just by following an extremist ideology of radical Islam, but even if we assume his cause was just, that was certainly not, the means he used to achieve his goals was extreme violence. Sinwar's actions resulted in destroying the lives of thousands Israelis, Palestinians, and Lebanese families. Death, suffering, torture, and rape were inflicted on the innocent, and even worse, on children and women. Even if we don't account the tens of thousands died in horrific ways because of Sinwar's actions, the amputated, especially children, will live a lifetime here on earth in a living hell. Not to mention destroyed completely Gaza and possibly Lebanon, and had huge negative implications or repercussions to the rest of the world. So these are hardly the actions of a hero.
Justice is the virtue that ties together the other three. The quality of being just means being fair and reasonable, particularly in interactions with other people. While prudence is about making a judgment of an action, justice is about action and desire. In Plato's view, someone would become just after they embodied the other three virtues. He emphasized the importance of the interaction of all four virtues. Plato also believed only just people can create a just society. Aristotle took a slightly different view of justice and believed a just person was someone who had fair transactions with other people.
Yahya Sinwar didn't have a just cause. He wanted to eliminate Israel, intended genocide. He actively worked for a genocide. He orchestrated a heinous terrorist attack on 7/11. He was not a humanitarian or a libertarian. He was an Islamist. He was willing to sacrifice the lives of Israelis and his own people for a dogmatic obsession driven by Islamist ideological narratives. He didn't engage in a liberation struggle, even if he thought he was. His actions, if successful, would have created a totalitarian Islamic dictatorship at the expense of a modern liberal democracy, on top of a huge humanitarian cost to do this. Okay, so hardly the just cause of a hero.
Prudence. Also known as wisdom, prudence is the ability to make sound judgments based on personal experience. In ancient Greece, someone who possesses wisdom was thought to be able to differentiate between right and wrong. Prudence is only gained through lived experience. Plato considered wisdom the virtue of reason and the most important virtue. Similarly, Aristotle's moral teachings emphasized the importance of mentors who possessed wisdom in ethical life. He believed that to judge what is right, people must draw on those with more experience than us. In this view, moral education is vital to living well. The ancient Greeks also saw wisdom as the virtue of rulers, since wisdom enabled people to listen to advice and make a reasonable judgment to act on.
Yahya Sinwar was a radical Islamist, therefore he had no wisdom. His teachers were not wise. His views of life philosophy or moral philosophy and his worldview of the cosmos were immoral and naive. A true hero cannot or must have a fairly accurate moral philosophy and worldview. Islamist simply doesn't possess that. An Islamist can have good character qualities and engage in heroic moral acts like saving a child, for example, but Islam itself is detrimental to wisdom and morality. Sinwar was not wise, neither moral. Therefore, not a profile of a true role model of a hero. Okay, so to conclude, yes, Sinwar had courage, which is a really important virtue. Really important virtue. Okay, one of the four cardinal virtues, but he lacked the other three. He was immoral. He was, in fact, a monster, a moral monster. Immoral is an understatement. Okay. He was an extremist. His worldview was of a deluded Islamist, radical Islamist. Okay, so all these are problems. So, conclusion. No, Sinwar was not a hero. He was, in fact, an evil terrorist. At this point of my video, I will demonstrate to you guys the songs I'm trying to finish now, my songs. When I say my song. Okay, so this song is called, I don't have a name yet. Okay, so let's start. And it's not ready, okay? But I don't have patience to finish. Huge intro.
Underneath the shadows, I can see your gentle light. Your light, guiding through the darkness, makes everything shine bright. Shine bright. When my dreams are burning and the sky is falling down on me. You're my inspiration, my imagination so free.
And she said to me,
feels like I'm walking on the moon. Feels like I'm weightless in your arms. Feels like our souls are so in tune, heartbeats in the groove, everybody's moving. This is how we do it. Can't fail tonight. Feels like I'm walking on the moon. I'm walking on walking on the moon. Ooh, yeah. Feels like I'm walking on the moon. I'm walking on the moon. Walking on the moon. Ooh. I'm working on the moon. Feels like I'm walking on the moon. Feels like I'm weightless in your arms. Feels like our souls are so in tune. Heartbeats in the groove. Everybody's moving. This is how we do it. Can't drift apart. Feels like I'm walking on the moon. I'm walking on the moon. Walking on the moon. Ooh. Feels like I'm walking on the moon. You're making me feel like walking on the moon. Everybody's losing their call. Everybody's fading away. Everybody's drifting apart. Everybody's losing the spark. Everybody's fading to gray. But we are shining strong in the dark. Everybody's losing their call. Everybody's fading away. Everybody's drifting apart. Everybody's losing the spark. Everybody's fading to gray. But we are shining strong in the dark.
I think this guy, the one who sings, has a little bit better voice than mine. A little bit. I was in a in a quandrum. I said, what voice should I use, mine or his? Let's use his. Thank you.